You're going to be able to go from video idea all the way to ready to go, all utilizing ChatGPT and MidJourney. Show you some of the thumbnails that I previously created. I actually was doing this. This is like kind of like a home that I experienced. I was doing this to launch my new YouTube channel. And as I was creating the YouTube channel, I was like, since everything that I teach about is how to use AI for business, how to use AI for content, how to use AI for image design, right? For all of your brand visuals. I was like, you know what? I can probably also use this for my YouTube thumbnail. So I decided to give it a shot. And I'm actually very, very pleased with the results. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to share this with other people. So let me show you some of the thumbnails that I've created. And I'm actually going to be using these thumbnails in other videos. So you're definitely getting a behind the scenes. But look, so remember I said, all of this was created in AI. This was all created in ChatGPT. The only thing that I added here was this little thing. Like, this is a fake image. I made it with AI. That's something that I put on all of my videos on TikTok. So I wanted to try it out on YouTube as well. And then I also placed it here in this kind of like presentation style, the YouTube thumbnail template in Canva, a blank one. And then I placed it in there because for some reason, it does seem to have a little bit of issue sometimes with making sure that the dimensions are correct. And I've also noticed that a couple times that it like cropped my word out a little bit. So I wanted to be able to center it properly. So I brought it into Canva just to do those like slight edits at the end. For you, you may not need that. You may not find that it's necessary. It's something that I wanted to do, but I'm going to touch on that a little bit later as I go through the conversation in ChatGPT, the prompt conversation, and you'll see what I mean about some of the things that need a little bit of edits. But yeah, I created this one as well. And these just give you an example of different types. And then here, utilizing the ones utilizing a face. And I actually did like an AI photo shoot. This was like based off of a real life photo that I had. And I'm utilizing these for those style of thumbnails. So now you can kind of see what kind of results that you can get. And I'm going to take you through how I actually created this, like what the workflow is. So we kind of have step like 1A and 1B, right? So step 1A is actually creating, knowing what you want the video to be about, right? And then step 1B would be doing the keyword research so that way you can get the exact words. Now, you want to do the keyword research before you create the thumbnail and actually ideally before you shoot the video. So that way you're utilizing the keywords properly the way they should be used, right? Whether you're using it in the title, whether you're utilizing in the actual graphic of the thumbnail and throughout the video as well, right? So while I'm creating this YouTube thumbnail, first thing I did, I went into vidIQ. I'll show you that. The YouTube thumbnail, figured out which words that I would want to use, but I actually didn't even like copy and paste or write down which words I want to use. All I did was export it as a file. Then I took it into ChatGPT and I used this while creating my YouTube thumbnails using ChatGPT. I came across a great workflow, so I want to make a one-off video about it. So my other conversations with ChatGPT, it's very in depth and it's going through, my brand strategy, my target audience, my positioning. It has my branding guide, all these things. I normally do all my ChatGPT work in projects. If you're not familiar with projects, I'll probably make another video about that, like how to use projects for creating your AI visuals and also for like AI for your business productivity. But if you're utilizing projects, what you can do essentially is upload all of the information to the back end of the project. So that way every conversation in ChatGPT is working off of the same information. So you don't have to keep inputting the same context over and over, right? It's super awesome and it makes the work go by so much faster. So which is why I was able to say, can you follow the formula from the other chats to create the video, title, description, and thumbnail direction? And it's just going to search my other chats and know what I'm talking about, right? As well as brand strategy. But for this video itself, this is kind of what you need to know, right? You need a video title. You're going to need your video description, which is kind of like broken down. I have mine broken down into like what product of mine should work well with that video, what kind of sign off, what kind of hashtags, if I'm using hashtags, and then the description of what's going to be in the video. And then I'm also asking for the thumbnail direction. So that's what's really important for this particular conversation. If you're interested in all of the back end work that I did to make this go quickly and to like understand your audience and understand your positioning, everything like that, that's all covered in my course, right? The beginning portion of my course where I do all of the brand strategy work. It's about 86 prompts, and it will help you essentially lay out your entire brand strategy as well as your brand guide, right? So like knowing a bit about, not even a bit, knowing in depth who you're speaking to, why you're speaking to them, what you're speaking to them about, and how to position yourself in the market. All of that is always going to be 100% important before you get into anything about what your brand looks like, right? Because before you can do what it looks like, you have to know who you're talking to. So with that being said, let's get into the thumbnail direction. So with the thumbnail direction, essentially is breaking down what the visual concept is, the design details, right? What the layout should look like, overlay text, graphic add-ons, the color palette. See, all of this is coming from the information I've already fed ChatGPT in the project, right? So it already knows what it should be looking like per se, and then it's just going to be tweaking it for each particular video. But you can then essentially take these like breakdowns, and if while you're speaking to ChatGPT, and you can ask it for these particular details, right? So that way it will give you what it should look like. So for me, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, this looks pretty good. But as I'm reading it more, I'm like, these are actually a lot of instructions for ChatGPT. I've tried a few different things and I find simpler works better, right? Especially when you're doing text with ChatGPT. Text is hard for it to do. But ChatGPT right now seems to be doing the best with text, but you need to kind of like decide how far you can push it. Like try it, right? If you don't know how it's going to work out, you can try it. But this is essentially what a thumbnail direction will look like, and you utilize this with the prompt. You also want to make sure that in the thumbnail that you're utilizing some of your main keywords. That way you can draw eyes to your video right away. So if it doesn't include your main keywords, if it disregarded whatever you gave it for keywords or a spreadsheet or anything like that, just tell ChatGPT it's important to keep the keywords within the actual titles. And then it will update the video description, right? So it updated again. And I also asked for a direction. It doesn't necessarily have me on the thumbnail. And what's great about this is like, even though you're having this conversation, you still might end up going with the first idea. But what you want is different ideas so you have different things to try, right? Depending on what your goals are. So this is another one with no face. And then I was like, this is good, but might be hard for ChatGPT to replicate. Can I have a more simple version? So it gave me a simpler version here, right? Still the same concepts, but a lot less wording and a lot less things for it to do. So now I'm going to jump into exactly how the image starts to be made in ChatGPT. I would start either a fresh chat or you can continue on in that conversation. I will say do not create more than 3 thumbnails in one chat, because then it all starts to like merge together and it starts taking some of the art direction from some of the other thumbnails, even when you tell it to not do that. So if you're struggling and it keeps pulling in different pieces of information from different thumbnails, just start a new chat. But what you want to do essentially is just tell ChatGPT, okay, here's the YouTube thumbnail, and keep reminding it of its dimensions. It keeps, for some reason, just forgetting that YouTube thumbnails need to be in specific dimensions. So just have that in every single prompt. So here's an example. I gave the thumbnail concept, but I didn't mention the 16:9, and it came out like this, right? Even though it was very clearly stated that it was a YouTube thumbnail. So what I did do is I asked it, why are you creating a vertical image? YouTube thumbnails are 16:9 dimensions, and then it then changes this up. And then here's my thumbnail to go. And as you see, like that was maybe 2 to 3 prompts in order for me to create this thumbnail. It's obviously pulling in all of that brand strategy and brand positioning stuff that I already had put in as context, which was making this so easy. But once you do that beginning work, Now you can create YouTube thumbnails. Like, just speaking to ChatGPT, here's another sentence that I found myself utilizing quite a lot. I love this composition, so let's lock that in. It works about 80% of the time, because sometimes you might really like what the image looks like, but you want to change one or two things. So you'll just say, I love this composition, so let's just lock that in. And sometimes it will give you the exact same thing, and sometimes it will change it up. I mean, it's the nature of the game, but try that if you're coming across in your chats and you're not, and it's essentially just creating brand new images every single time when you just want to do a bit of editing. This is another area where I found myself troubleshooting a bit, is sometimes it had a tendency to not center the words or the images correctly. So you might be getting a little bit of cutoff. What I have tried, and I would say it worked half of the time, was telling it to please keep the composition, but make sure none of the words are cut off. Make sure the title is a tiny bit smaller, or whatever particular word you want. You can also go into the ChatGPT editor just by clicking the image. You can press this button here, and then all you need to do is just color over where, and then you utilize those same words. And like I said, it's a 50-50 shot. You can always get into Canva, delete this off of the image itself, and then type in the words on the background, right? Like if you really just can't get it. So that is also an option. Now I'm going to jump into, for creating the thumbnails that have your image into it, how I created those images on MidJourney. For your reference, this is the type of images that I'm talking about, right? Like we all see those on YouTube all the time when YouTubers have their like faces out there on the thumbnails. And it's just like, maybe you don't have enough images to do that. Maybe the images that you have, you don't like, etc., etc. This I found to be like a super cool hack of being able to create versions of yourself, images of yourself to utilize on these thumbnails within a couple of minutes. First, I want to preference here to get photorealistic images. It's something that this is what I do. This is what I teach. This is what I do for my clients. If you have a real interest in learning how to do photorealistic images for yourself, for your brand, etc., I have a course that will walk you through the entire process of being able to create these and also have them art directed. Like I work with a lot of aspirational luxury brands, and the goal is to have like Vogue worthy images. So if that's the case, so as you're looking at the screen right now, you might notice like, oh, the prompt she's using is very simple. That's because I have a ton of parameters and a lot of things happening on the back end that is allowing me to create things very easily. And if you need more information about that, I go through that step by step in the course. But back to this. So I essentially just asked it to create a headshot photograph. I uploaded a image of myself, right? This is a real image. It just essentially has like a fake background that I use on Canva. I made this like maybe 2 years ago. But I uploaded this image of myself to MidJourney. And then you'll see here in the prompt, I utilized it as an Omni reference. Now this, I'm utilizing V7, which is the most recent version of MidJourney. I don't believe everyone has access to it yet. I've created over 40,000 images. So I guess I'm what they would consider like a power user or super user. So I'm getting access to things as like they immediately roll out. So you may not have this. You will drop the image into MidJourney, get it to describe it for you. And then you're going to utilize all the things that I go over, right, in the course, right? Like the film style, the image style. You want to describe yourself very well. You want to describe any like art direction or prompts, everything like that. Like you need to be extremely, extremely descriptive. Because I'm using Omni reference and I'm utilizing, as you see here, all of these, I'm using style code numbers. I'm able to just pull in all of that information without being able to type it, which is amazing. So let me walk you through a bit of some of the results that I got. I wanted corporate core mixed with this kind of like nostalgia type of look. And I wanted it to be a little bit cinematic, dark and moody type of vibe. So here are some of the results. And some of them they don't look like me. As I was talking to my sister and I was showing her as I was making this, and she was like, they look like A, like you if you were a different race, or B, they look like your cousin, right? They don't look just like you. And obviously these images are based off of like when I had like a soft beat. I'm right now just working. So this is me. But these are some of the results. And I was pleased with how close we were able to get. So remember here, This is the image that we're working off of. And then these are the results. Like, it nailed my eyes, my eyebrows, my nose, my complexion, the fact that I have a bit of moles. It nails a lot of them. It nails my lips. It nails my ears. Like, one of my ears is pointier than the others. I thought it was like really good. And you see, but this is a version. It looks like me, but not like me. And you just need to just keep creating different versions. I'm not going to go through how to create images in this particular video. I'll have other videos for that, or there's the course if you want to go through. But these are one of the images that I did end up utilizing. So essentially, you can create your own photo shoot. I suggest utilizing the images and putting them as a different layer on like a Photoshop or Canva, as opposed to just trying to get ChatGPT to recreate it. ChatGPT sometimes struggles with recreating human likeness one-to-one. Sometimes it will say it's against the community guidelines or things of that nature. So, or it might have to make a little bit of changes in order for it to not violate those guidelines. But obviously, since it's not a fake model, you want it to look just like you as much as possible. Upload the images to Canva and then drag the image where you want it to be. Then you're going to click the image, remove the background. You do need to be on the paid version to just do the one-click background remover, and then just lay the image where it makes sense in the scene. And then you're done. Like, that's it. You can do whatever else editing that you want to do, but the actual thumbnail is complete. And at first, because I was coming up with the workflow, it was taking me a bit of time. And because I was creating the images in MidJourney, right, it was taking me a bit of time. But now that I have an image library, now that I have the workflow down, I tested it again and I was able to create a thumbnail in less than 5 minutes following this workflow.